All right. I want to say thank you to everybody who's showing up tonight. Guys, I am beyond excited. I went over this with Jay the other day, and I told Jay, I said, Jay, I'm not pumping you up, but this is probably going to be one of the best master classes of the year. I'm not kidding, guys. You guys don't understand yet what you're in for. And we might go, I'm going to this is gonna be very powerful. This to get you guys ready, we might go 1 hour, we might go 2 hours. That's how much good information he has. And if you know what, we get to an hour and a half, we guys drop off whenever you want to drop off. But I'm going to tell you right now, in the middle, he's going to cover self-management. He's going to cover the right way to scale. And he's going to cover what else is it? Syndication, a little bit of everything, like the right way. This is really important because Jay's a real deal guy. He's a humble guy who did it the right way, not this bullshit 2,000 units in 2 years stuff. Okay. He started MIH with an 8-unit heavy lift that cash flows 4,500 a month now, and he's got 17 deals. But he did it the humble right way. All right, so that's why it's powerful tonight. I want you guys to be inspired by a real person, not this social media stuff that's going on out there. All right, and you guys, Jay's a very well spoken guy, so you're gonna love it. Okay, cover a couple things. Let me share my screen before we get to him. All right, this is brought to you by free masterclasses. We're gonna have 12 of these. Next month is social media with Lauren, and she's getting about 600 to 800 views on her reels. She's going viral, guys. So that's next month. So this is brought to you by MIH Mastermind. As you heard, Hadar is my partner in the car with his daughter. That's him over there, and that's me right there, Marco. Also by Sharpline Equity team, my syndication team with Chris Jackson. Let me go down. This is some stuff that we're doing this month coming up. Yosef is on here in New York. We are going to be in New York March 2nd. For all my New York people, you better come to this. We had 100 people last year. It's a meetup. NYC Saturday, March 2nd. Right now, guys, if you're on this, message Yosef on the chat. Yosef, put your information. If you want to come to it, we had 100 people. Amazing. We're going to get 100 again. And we had 35 from out of state. MIH people came from out of state. Why? It's that important. 7-figure people in the room. By the way, we're careful who we let come. We don't let people we don't want there. We tell them it's booked. We make it an amazing room. If I don't like somebody, I'm not going to let them come because I protect my MIH Mastermind members. I want all positive, amazing people in the room. This is a room you want to be in. Then tonight, your speaker, Jay Balekar, right here, he's having an event. This is amazing. He became a member of MIH. Now he's doing his own events, Compounding Capital, and it's along with MIH. I'm going to be there Thursday, private dinner at his house, just for private people, 25, 30 people. But Friday and Saturday, the 19th and 20th of April, he is doing a 2-day event. Friday night's a dinner. Saturday is a bus tour, visiting 2 or 3 of his properties. And then at 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, me and all these speakers, Chris Jackson, Alex Tam, who's on here, John Stanley, Yosef, we're all going to be speaking and teaching about all these topics. I'm going to be teaching about branding and a lot of other stuff about attracting money. And Alex is going to be teaching about attracting money with me. It's going to be really an amazing event. And I'm really proud of Jay for doing this, man. We did it last year, and we keep it small. We're only going to do we have about 45 people already booked, way ahead. We'll probably do 50 to 75. We don't want to do too big. We do hyper-focused quality over quantity. These are like real deal closing events. All right. So let me stop that share on that. I'll put my info. If you guys can get my info for new people on here, if you've never met me, I'm going to put my cell phone number and my website. Text me tonight. I'll set up a free networking call. I have over 6,000 people on this phone. Your network is your net worth. I'm a go-giver. Real quick about myself, 10 seconds. I was in the restaurant business, won 12 awards for 25 years, sold a restaurant in 1998. When I was 23, I bought a 4-family. 2012 to 19, I bought 2,000 units. 2020 to 23, another 2,000 units. I sold the restaurant in 2020. I am full-time multifamily. I have over 350 million in holdings and a total of 44 deals. And one of the leaders of MIH Mastermind and part of Sharpline Equity syndication team. So that's basically all about me. And let's see. Oh, one last thing. Justin Cashflow Cowboy. I don't know. He's down there. I just want to say congratulations. This is fucking impressive. 28 years old right now. Deal number 6 and deal number 7 in contract and funded JV MIH members. This is the power of MIH, and we're going to go over this tonight, of the right group. Justin called me and he goes, Marco, I got 2 deals. He's great at finding deals. I said, dude, keep finding deals. I did an email. I made a couple texts. I got him 30 people from MIH in front of him, not just regular people, amazing people. And what did he do? Both JV deals were funded in full in 4 days. 2 deals. Justin, say hi real quick.
What's up, everyone? Thanks, Marco. Yeah, I
Real
love the
quick, real
MIH
quick. What
family.
market are the 2 deals in? Tell us.
Central Florida and Indianapolis.
Good. Great job, dude. That's it.
Yeah.
Let's get these done.
Appreciate
and
you
then,
guys.
and
I'll
then
see everyone in April.
Put Justin, put your website for direct to seller up there for new people. All right. Justin also teaches now. He also teaches direct to seller, and he has a lot of systems. By the way, guys, once again, if you haven't met Justin, he's not selling anything. He doesn't need to sell you the direct to seller system. Reach out and network with him. Pick his brain and get to meet him. All right. All right. And in saying that, we are now done. And that was pretty quick, actually. We can hand this over. Jay, you ready to share your screen and get your presentation going?
All right. Yeah, let's do it. Thank you all so much for joining on a weekday in the evening. So I'm going to try to not make this boring. So really appreciate you all hopping on. And Marco, thank you so much for setting this up. You know, you always speak a little too highly of me. I don't think I've done so much, but you've built the hype. So I got to find a way to deliver now. So
Jay, you're doing great, man. I'm never going to build the hype, dude. For the proof is in the returns and what you're doing.
all righty. So let me see if I'm sharing the right screen. Let's do this here. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yeah, we see one on the left and one on the right. The next slide. There you go.
Okay, perfect. Is it showing up on full screen, or are you guys seeing all the slides? If I can make this work, we'll just run with this.
Okay, so what I see, Jay, just so you know, I see the main slide, and then I see the slides on the left. The little ones. I see little ones. That's it. It's okay.
Cool.
It's not a big deal.
That's all right. All right. We will get started here. So this is our team. Of course, we didn't build a team day one, but as I joined MIH Mastermind, met a lot of people. This is why it's really important to join a good mastermind. You will meet a lot of people. Your interests are going to align. Your values are going to align, and you're going to find people that you'll end up working with. So I started investing in real estate in early 2020. My background is in tech. I was working in the tech space. Is the screen up for everyone? Is everyone able to hear me?
We're still on the first screen,
Yeah,
Jay.
you're on the first screen, Jay.
Oh,
with the bridge. We're still seeing the bridge.
All right, something's off here. Let's see.
Yeah. Jay, why don't you hit the slideshow button?
Yeah, I did. And on my screen, I see the whole full slideshow. So I don't know why.
It's all right, man. We got time. So work on it. I'll tell them. I didn't do an intro about you. So Jay was an engineer, and like I said, as he's fixing this, there you go, man. Now we got full screen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We got the bridge up. Is that what you want?
Yep.
Okay.
Full screen mode now?
Yeah, Jay, do a little intro about yourself. You didn't go into what you did as an engineer and how you stuff like that, and talk about the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've worked in corporate America for 10 years. Started out in cybersecurity consulting. Loved my job. Nothing wrong with the job, but it's by the end of the day, it was a job. So I realized that I was trading my time for money. Started reading a lot of real estate books as I was traveling for my job. I used to travel a lot. So, but because of my travel job, I didn't quite take the first step for almost a year. So that year, I spent all my time reading all the books that I could get my hands on. Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy, all the Bigger Pockets books. And then in early 2020, right when COVID happened, I started to work remotely. And that was, I know COVID was a really tough time for a lot of people, but it also kind of presented an opportunity to me that, okay, the travel stopped. Let's start investing in multifamily and make something happen. So that's when we invested in our first 8-unit apartment building here in Cincinnati. And that one went well. And then we'll take a look at the trajectory then onwards on the next few slides.
Jay,
Um,
before you switch slides, real quick, I told you I'm going to jump in because you got such great slides. Guys, you see the picture of this team right here? And it's going to be a recurring theme tonight. Jason Bake, Alex Tam, John Stanley, amazing people, amazing team members that he added one by one, and he found them all in MIH Mastermind. So I'm not saying join MIH. What I'm saying is when you start multifamily, you could start with a 2-unit, a 4-unit, a 20-unit, whatever. But when you want to get to this, and build a team and be surrounded by the people that you need, you got to find a family. You got to join a mastermind, a group, and that's going to help you be more successful. Anybody can be successful in America. Get a job, make 6 figures. Super successful is finding your family. So this is pretty impressive right here. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, absolutely, Marco. That is 100% absolutely agree. So, Jason, who works with me, he comes from a data science background. So he helps us on the underwriting and also helps me on the asset management side. And I've started working with Jason since 2021, and we have racked up quite a few deals since then. Because if you try to do it all yourself, you are bound to fail. It's just too much to handle, especially once you start closing on more and more deals. And you want to make sure that you are doing right by the investors. And if you're by yourself overwhelmed and dropping the ball, you're doing a disservice to your investors. So working with the right team is absolutely crucial. That's the only way to scale. And that's also the only way to make sure that you're doing a good service to your investors. Then Lisa Lay, who also happens to be my wife, she's my team member number 1. And just this holiday season, I was reminiscing like, oh, what did our holiday season look like in 2020 and 2021? And essentially during the holiday season, those 2 years, we were hauling materials, renting Penske and Enterprise trucks, picking up material from auction sites, trying to do these rehabs for as cheap as possible. And that was all fun. It was a lot of work, but that's how you get started, because at the time I had no help, so I had no really good contractors in my pipeline at the time. Now we have also built a team of third-party vendors, contractors, so I don't have to do it at least as often. I still have to do it, but not as often. So I think some of these things in running a business, you just can't ignore. Sometimes you just got to pick up and make it happen if there's an emergency, right? Alex Sam, he joined our team earlier this year, or 2023, became good friends with Alex. He's also a partner with a couple of our deals. Met Alex through MIH Mastermind. And then over time, we just became really good friends. The personalities aligned, the values aligned. He's got a much more smilier face than me. He's way more lively. And, the best intro that I can give about Alex is if you ever open Instagram, Facebook, or any of these platforms, I'd be surprised if you don't see Alex on there without first scroll. He's always on there. So Alex joined the team as investor relations. He's helping us with capital raise as well. He's beefing up our marketing and branding platforms. So it's been a huge help, and I'm looking forward to closing more deals with Alex as well. John Stanley also joined us towards the tail end of last year. Have always valued John and his skill set. He's a tremendous person, really smart guy. I believe he's also on this call today. So if you've not networked with John and Alex, please talk to them. Same thing with Jason. I'm personally an introvert, and Jason is too. So a lot of times we're not very active on social media, but if you get a chance, do set up a call and get to know these guys. I met all of these people through MIH Mastermind, which is the beauty of joining a mastermind like this. So John is focusing on really the finances side of things and oversight on operations and financial reporting. John has 27 plus years of experience in financial markets. So we really needed that expertise to make sure that there are no risks that we are overseeing. Do we have liquidity risk? Do we have credit risk? Are we spreading ourselves too thin? Those are the aspects where John helps us on. We recently also did a webinar on the state of the economy, which pretty much John helped put that together. And those are the areas where you need to make sure that you are looking at all of these different areas to make sure that you are serving your investors well. So
Jay,
having,
you know what's really cool is John's my buddy from college, joins MIH, and now we got him on your team. That's pretty cool. I'm happy for
Yeah.
him.
yeah, it's pretty awesome, right?
Mhm.
So this is our investment journey, if you will, as to how the deals started and what was the order of our acquisitions. So in early 2020, this is when we bought this 8 units, which was technically 2 4 families right next to each other. They were in a very good location, but in a really bad shape. So it required a lot of rehab work, about 8 to 9 months of rehab, and then another 2 months of lease up. So the project took about a year to complete. Was really overwhelming as the first experience. But once it was said and done, we were able to do a full cash out refi, effectively leaving $0 in the property. So therefore it was a infinite return deal. And that's when it was like the aha moment for us. We were like, oh, this stuff that we read about in the books actually really works. And in that market cycle, it did. The BRRRR deals also work today, but you got to be a little bit more cautious because the interest rates have gone up. Then we did a similar project right
So Jay,
after it.
Jay, hold on real quick. I'm going to give
Yep.
a little bit of numbers to make it more powerful. What did you
Sure.
put down? You put down 300,000 or 400?
Yeah, so I do have a case study on this as well towards the tail end, but it was a $200,000 down payment. And
What'd you refi out? 300K or 200K?
we refied out around 400K, a little over 400K.
Okay, I just want to
on this one.
repeat that, guys. When I teach, it only takes one. This is a hard deal. This isn't a be. He was a beginner too. He did it all by himself because if he lost his money, he didn't want to mess up other partners or anything. That's why he's the real deal. I say. He put in 200K. He refied out $400,000, guys. Did you hear that? Because people go, "Oh, you can't do it." You know what? Yeah, you can. The deals are coming again. I'm looking at Debbie Wilcox down there. I have a 43 unit with her. We're gonna refi that deal in about a year probably when the rates hit right. And then the deals are there. It's history repeats itself. You need patience. I bought a deal in 2013, refied out 100%. It's worth 5x right now, that deal. And people are like, oh, you can't buy those no more. They have these negative. Yes, you can. I bought 3 of them in 2021. So and Lauren Zeminski's gonna do reels on them. Okay, go ahead, dude.
Awesome. Then it was a 10 unit, similar story, bought it for a pretty low price, $47,000 a door is what we paid for it. It was all 2 bedrooms in an area that was gentrifying, right? So it was not already gentrified, but we were seeing some signs of progress. So we rehabbed the entire property, put another $230,000 in renovations. And then we refied and did a cash out refi on this one as well. And this was actually almost a 7-figure cash out refi. So huge amounts of equity created. And the more rewarding aspect of this deal was not the equity creation, really. I mean, that's always great, right? Who doesn't like making money? But when we finished this project, every single building around us was flipped. So the entire block changed. The crime levels went significantly down. The crime levels were pretty high. And at some point, this building was known for drug dealing and prostitution. It had a very bad rep in the community. We took it down, and then once we flipped it, initially we had gotten a call from one of the local councilmen that, hey, what are you guys doing? Affordability is already a problem. And then we got a call from that same guy again, thanking us that you guys did a great job. Looks like that block has finally improved. It was notoriously known for high crime. So things like that, when you start seeing the impact you're making, that is truly a lot more rewarding than the money you're making, right? So this changed my mind completely on what real estate investing means to me. Yeah, Marco, go ahead.
Yeah. So for the beginners on here, it's a little overwhelming. He did some, and by the way, he was a beginner. He wanted challenges. So, when the beginners come in, say, in the mastermind, if I do get beginners, because usually it's people who are a little more advanced, but when you come in, I see a lot of beginners join Jake and Gina Rockcliffe. They want your easy B class or C class deal. Even if it's a C class, that's a little hard. That's like 98% occupied or 95% go in and cash flow day one. And that's great. but you're not gonna necessarily gonna refi that deal, or you're gonna have to hold that a long time to really make money. These deals, if you can come in and partner and learn how to do some of these heavier lifts, doesn't have to be a really heavy lift, but maybe a C class that, like we have the 43 unit. We have to go in, rents are 500, they're gonna go to 775, 900. Do we have to do turns? We're doing painting the outside. If you can learn how to do that, that's where you're gonna make money. Okay. And then now I'm buying A classes now. So I mean, it's learn how to do everything. But when the beginners come in, don't be afraid of this. You got to get educated and surround yourself with the right people. If Jay did it as a beginner, you could do it as a beginner, but you need to be in the right group.
Absolutely. So moving forward in 2021, this is a 4-family that we bought, and that's when we actually sold our home and moved into this one. So this was an FHA house hack. So I won't go too much into detail about what FHA house hack is, but essentially FHA, which is a government-backed loan, you can get that loan with 3.5% down. And the cash flow from this property actually paid for the down payment on this one. Just 8 months of cash flow, and we put down the down payment. So essentially it was a free property. We lived in it for about a year to meet FHA requirements. And the tenants were actually paying us, which was covering more than the payments. So essentially we were still cash flowing while living in this. And now all the 4 units are rented, and this property also cash flows really well. And this one is locked up on a 30-year note at 2.7% rate of interest. So you really can't beat that. So you got to take advantage of some of these programs that you have access to. Then this was another investment property, same years, 8 units, was not in the best neighborhood. So we ended up selling it. We had bought it for $350, sold it for $550. Didn't put in much work in this at all. But you know, some of this is also about timing. You buy at the right time, you sell at the right time, and just operate the property well. And sometimes you get lucky. After that, you know, there was a decent amount of confidence that, okay, we can do this. So next one that we did was actually a JV deal. It was 63 units. So a big step forward from the 4 and 8 units that I was working on. And you'd be surprised that the people I did this JV deal with were the people that I was constantly in touch with on Bigger Pockets. So we had done multiple calls with them, and especially one of those guys. And, you know, we got to know each other, started making offers together, and finally this offer stuck. And these are all guys based on the West Coast, working in the tech space, and they were looking to invest in Cincinnati. And that's how things happen. So sometimes you would be surprised how things happen. You'll meet people in meetups, through mastermind programs, or through your social media presence, and you'll end up making friends with them, and they might end up becoming your partners on some of these deals. Then we did this 32 unit JV, also fellow MIH members. We sold this last year. It went through full stabilization and then sold it for a profit. It was bought for about 60 a door, and then we ended up selling it for about 85 a door. And then in 2022, we did our first syndication deal. This was a 36 unit. Marco is a partner on this deal, and also a key principal. And this was my first deal after Jason got on board. So Jason and I put this deal together. We raised capital from our friends and family, and some of the other MIH people are also a part of this deal. And it's going really well. It's stabilized now. Other MIH members on this deal are Harshad and Sumrita, who are also on this call, who also happen to be my friends from college. So this was a really good experience, where this was the first deal where we brought on LPs and some of our friends and family. One of my friends from grad school, Nishi, also joined us on this deal. So it was a really interesting opportunity, because with JVs, it was a smaller group. It was mostly other active investors, but this was the first deal where we were able to bring our friends and family on board. And thankfully, knock on wood, this deal is still going fairly smooth. And we are able to hit all the returns metrics. Then in 2022,
Jay, a good tip on this one for the people that I always told you. Me and you talked about it. Jay calls me, he says he has a 36. I said, oh, great. I said, you want to JV it, man? I'll get Dr. Gupta, me, you, Dr. Gupta, maybe Alex Tam, 4 of us. I said, we write checks. And then Jay goes, you know what? I think I'm going to syndicate it. And I looked, I said, why are you going to syndicate it? I said, like, I asked him, he goes, because you know what? I want to practice. I want to get a syndication go through the whole steps of syndication. instead of jumping right to a $5 or $7 million raise, where a lot of people make that mistake. A lot of people do 20 units, 30 units, 60 or whatever, and then all of a sudden they jump to a 5 million raise, and it's like, why don't you grow to that? Why don't you? And that's what he did. So he did this as a syndication, and once you go through the motions, now he's ready for a $5 million raise. Whatever he needs, I'll help him out with. So he got it done, and it's doing great, and I'm happy to be a KP on this deal.
Yeah, no, thank you, Marco. Yeah, so this was more of a practice syndication for us, as Marco said. And again, I mean, it's completely your choice where you are in your journey and what your goals are. So if you want to get into syndication, it's probably a better idea to do a smaller one before you take down a $10 million deal. And if something goes wrong, you lose your face, right? So, so that's why we chose to syndicate this, although this was not a massive size deal. And also because we were fairly positive on what we can achieve with this property and what we can make out of this. Then we took down a 17-unit deal. It's in a Class A location. Alex Tam is a partner on this deal as well. And this was a challenging one. Location-wise, this was phenomenal. And I know that this deal will do well in the long term, but it was also a full gut renovation, a lot of cast iron plumbing, foundation issues and stuff like that. And even after we fully renovated it, some maintenance items kept coming up. So lots of lessons learned. Also, it's important to keep in mind that when you are taking up heavy lifts, things can go wrong. Things can go sideways. You can go over budget. Once you start opening the walls, you will find things that you were not aware of or were not disclosed to you, because a lot of times these deals, you're buying them as is. So you're really taking a pretty big risk. And it's important that all of your partners know what type of deal they're getting in. And I think it's really our job as active real estate investors, syndicators, to really make sure everybody understands what risks they are taking. So this one, we used third-party property management on this one up until pretty much earlier this month. We switched management. They did a terrible job with leasing. Essentially, none of the units were leased by them, and we had to lease every single unit ourselves. Multiple unit walkthroughs, open houses to finally get all the 17 units filled. In about 6 to 8 weeks, we were able to do that. But now we are working with a partner of mine who, actually, I'll talk about that deal here in Linwood Towers as well. And I can already see a very huge difference. Reason being, this partner of mine is also a local investor, phenomenal guy, lots of energy, young guy, and he's a go-getter, right? So it's one thing to use a third-party property management. I don't want to badmouth all third-party management companies, but technically, if they don't have ownership, they're not really incentivized. They personally are not investors. They really don't know what it means to wear the investor hat. So it's always good if you can bring property management in-house, either build the company from scratch or work with someone who have invested their time in building a property management company. And that way you have synergies. Maybe you find the deals, you find capital, work with someone who's built a property management company and bring them on board as an equity partner. So everybody's interests are aligned, and now you can see a lot better results, right? So this next property, which was another 12 units in a B plus neighborhood, this is another example where, we were suffering from poor property management, and we did the same with that. So this property, now all of these and some of our new acquisitions, we are planning to work with the same individual who's also a local investor and keep property management in-house. That way we all share the pie in terms of equity. We all run it really well and make sure that our investors are also taken care of by making sure we have a close eye on all the operations. This was a 12-unit property that we are under contract to sell. Josh Stahl, who's on the call, also a fellow MIH member, is a partner on this deal. Got to know Josh really well through MIH MasterMind initially and have become good friends. And it has been a phenomenal journey just working with folks like Josh, because it's not just about working on a deal with these people, but I'm getting to learn a lot from every conversation that I'm having with all of these partners. In 2022, another deal we did was 24 units in a Class A suburb of Dayton called Kettering. Average household income, median household income here was like $120K. So phenomenal location, but a severely distressed property filled with squatters. We got it for like 25, a little over 25K per door. It's been a huge project. It's been very challenging. We are nearing the completion. So it took us pretty much a year to get close to finishing up on the project. But I have a few lessons learned in the following few slides. And those lessons learned are a combination of all of these properties and what we have learned along the way. And I'm sure there's going to be more lessons to be learned as we continue on our investment journey. But you have to make sure that you're working really well with the city's building department and inspections process. Pretty much make friends with them. You make enemies with them, and your life is going to be miserable. I learned that lesson on this property. So I didn't know that there were permits that needed to be pulled for installing vanities and toilets, but apparently you do. Every city is different. Some cities they don't need you to pull permits on smaller stuff. Major plumbing you may have to, but we ran into that challenge here. The building department and inspectors thought we were trying to get away without pulling permits. So I had to please them, visit their offices multiple times to finally get them on our side. And now they're all happy and work is progressing. So we'll be done with this project in about a month's time. Then we did a 262 unit co-GP deal. So we helped raise a little bit of capital on this deal. But again, as co-GPs, we're not as actively involved in this deal. This is in Dothan, Alabama, but we decided to partner up with these, lead sponsors because of their track record and really smart people, very transparent in everything. The communication that comes to us and the investors has been super transparent. Although the deal had some challenges with the rising interest rates and we had bridge debt on it, the team has pulled through and, the asset is performing really well. Then in 2023, earlier last year, we bought this property in a Class A location. So this was our first deal. This is a JV deal as well. A few of our MIH friends are a part of this deal as well. And then the local investor I was talking about, this is our first deal where we partnered up together. So this is where they got to see our working style and we got to see their working style, right? So sometimes, you can't really decide to marry someone until you have dated them, right? So you got to at least know a little bit about them, their values, their work style. Are they actually pulling their weight? Are your interests aligned? And really, for me, values and ethics comes first and foremost before anything else. And this was a really good, pilot for us to start working together. And it's been a phenomenal journey so far. We've been able to lease the units pretty quickly. The renovations are going well, and we're already about $100 more in average rents from where we started just a few months ago. So we are making terrific progress. And that's when we decided that, okay, let's start working on multiple deals together. So we keep management in-house, we keep operations in-house. And because him and we are both local, sometimes you just have to be at these properties. Actually, not even sometimes, many times, right? So you have to keep your eyes on the properties. And if you are working with a few different local people, then you can tag teams. If I'm out of town, I can always call my partner. If he's out of town, he can give me a call to make sure that at least if there are any emergencies, we're able to take care of those issues. This was another 8 unit that we bought. It was actually a 1031 exchange. So when we sold this property, 8 units, we did a like-kind exchange and picked up these 8. And these were in a much nicer neighborhood than this one. So this is, again, very close to this property in a B+ neighborhood. And this was kind of in a C-. So we were able to kind of get rid of this, do a 1031 exchange, which is essentially a tax strategy. That way you don't get taxed on the capital gains from the asset you sell, and be able to reinvest that capital in a new deal. And then this was the last one of 2023, which is also a joint venture deal. It's in Bloomington, Indiana, fairly close to about an hour away from Indianapolis market. Also closed it with a friend of mine who we've been in touch with, came across him through social media. He also kind of specializes in underwriting and asset management. His name is Justin Gooden. Some of you might have seen him on social media as well. And we had been talking about potentially taking a deal down together in Indianapolis market. And he found this deal through his DTS efforts. He called me. I was like, okay, we've been talking about this for quite some time. Let's do a deal together. And that's how we ended up partnering up on this deal. So that's kind of what our journey looks like, and we are constantly looking to work with other phenomenal people. So it's not like the team is static. I've been working with Justin, Cashflow Cowboy, on some of our DTS efforts. I'm hoping to find some deals together with him so we can also start working together. So it's really about, finding the right people. And where do you find the right people? How do you get to actually know them? It's one thing to find them on social media. I see people post on social media all the time. Oh, we have this deal under contract, looking for a GP, looking for a KP. And it really boggles me, partnering up with strangers on
So
this
Jay,
5 to
Jay,
7 year
I
journey
gotta cut you off
is
on that
insane.
one. So
Yeah.
that in the mastermind, we teach. What I do is I go on these big groups of 30,000 people, multifamily, whatever. I'm not gonna say the names. And a guy goes, I have a 20 unit. I'm looking for partners. I take a screenshot and I put it on the Facebook Messenger chat of MIH where we have our 280 members live every day. And I go, how not to post and how to fail. So you do not, this guy's, I'm going to say it, this is not monopoly fucking money. This is real money. You spend 100K, 200K to go to college to get you a fucking desk job, invest 10, 20, or 30K, join the right group. So Justin just had a 6th and 7th deal in contract. He gets it, calls me. I send them 30 amazing family people who are vetted in our group, upstanding. Then he gets on and interviews them, and he already knows most of them because he met them in the group. He's been networking with for 3 years, and that's how we find a partner. The reason is, guys, you buy a good deal, and it's a great deal, and you're making money. If the partnership's not good, in 1 year you sell the deal because like you met somebody on the internet and then they're lazy. They're not like Josh Stahl, who's a hard worker, and then they're not pulling their weight, and a good deal gets sold because a partnership doesn't last. You guys want to find good deals, and when you find the good deal, it's hard to find. These deals are hard to find. When you find it, you want the right team. You don't want the partnership to die in a year and have to sell it. There was somebody in my group, same thing. She partnered too quick with somebody. They had a great deal. A year later, she had this. I told her, it's okay. You messed up. You got it. And she was this deal's so good. I said, it was so good. You didn't choose the right partner. You rushed on it. So that's a key. Jay, I'm glad it's mind-boggling too, because I put it up on the chat and I'm like, guys, does anybody else realize this is not what you're like? I don't want you guys posting like this. I'm like, and everybody's like, yeah, I can't believe they do that. And they do every day.
Yep. No, absolutely. Great. So I'll keep moving. I know we are 8:42 already. Well, boy, time flies. So
Jay,
I'm
cover
gonna
this right now. I know some people, the advanced people, are going to be bored by this. Cover this fast, and that's what he's going to do because we got such good stuff after this.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna breeze through these couple slides because these are more geared towards beginners. So if there are any folks on the call who are just beginning to get their feet wet in real estate, I think these couple slides, I tried to put them here because this is what sold me on real estate. And I'm hoping this is what would make sense to you because this makes complete logical sense. So what we have here on the left is cash flow quadrant. So anyone who's investing in real estate today, for the most part, many of them got into real estate because they read these two books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. So if you have not read those books, I highly recommend reading these books because these two books were really my starting point in real estate. And essentially in Cash Flow Quadrant, what Robert Kiyosaki talks about is a lot of us who are in the employee and self-employed quadrants, we are trading our time for money. So we put in the hours, we get a paycheck in return for it. The day you stop working, you're not going to get that paycheck. So you're not truly building wealth. On top of that, you're taxed pretty heavily. So these two quadrants are the most heavily taxed, while business owners and investors are taxed very little. And it's by design because employees are usually, reliant on your employer, while the employer is actually creating opportunities for other people. So the IRS rewards the business owner for creating job opportunities. And same thing with investors. They are putting in the money to create infrastructure, to build housing and serve a community need. So the tax code rewards them for doing that, right? So what can we do to go from like employee and self-employed quadrant to these business owner and investor quadrant, right? The main reason these two quadrants are attractive is if you look at business ownership, once you have created a business that cash flows, it has intrinsic value. So you can actually either sell that business or pass it down to your future generation. you cannot pass down a job to your future generation, which is why business ownership becomes a little more attractive, a bit more risky, but definitely a lot more attractive. And then finally, it's the investor quadrant, where you make your money work for you. You invest in deals, you invest in opportunities, and now you start generating returns on the money you have invested. So of course, nobody starts out with money. So when you have graduated from college, you're not going to have millions of dollars to invest, unless of course you inherited them. But first, you have to work for money, but then you have to start making your money work for you. And one way to kind of combine the B and I quadrant is, if you're an active investor or a syndicator, you are getting equity for finding the deal and doing all the work. So that's the B aspect of it, or the business ownership aspect of it. And then you have other investors alongside you investing in the deal, plus you're investing your own capital, and now your money is also working for you. So you're kind of combining both of these quadrants. And over time, once you have accumulated enough wealth, you can be solely in this investor quadrant. And now you can, sort of pretty much sit on a beach, monitor your investments, and completely have your money work for you, right? So essentially, the other important concept is really understanding what is truly meant by assets and liabilities. That was another aha moment for me. I used to think my house is an asset. Well, technically, it's not, because the house is taking money out of your pocket as you pay for its mortgage, insurance, all the bills that come with it. So essentially, anything that takes money from your pocket is a liability. Anything that puts money in your pocket is an asset. So it's really crucial to look at everything you own through these lenses and see how many liabilities you have, how many assets you have, and your focus should be really to increase your assets. And assets then create cash flow, and then you can use that cash flow to buy the liabilities, like a fancy car and whatnot, right? And then finally, just being in this investor quadrant enables you to buy assets, like tangible assets like real estate, that appreciate over time. So that's how you're building wealth. In addition to that, you're cash flowing. The cash flows can fluctuate. It depends on market cycles, and also depends on how your asset is performing. But it is the cash flow that comes from rental income. No other investment class is going to give you that cash flow. If you buy stocks, well, some stocks could give you dividends, but they're going to be very little. And additionally, what you get to do is reduce your tax liabilities. And that's through depreciation and 1031 exchanges. So that is something that you can talk to your CPA about. But if you're getting to enjoy the appreciation cash flow, at the same time reduce your tax liabilities, it's really, for me, it's a no-brainer that you got to invest in real estate. So this is what sold me on real estate. Hope this makes sense to you as well. More than happy to chat later. To dive
Tony
into the
Tony
details.
Robbins, all the good people teach that, even Tony Robbins. One thing to break it down for beginners real quick, like Debbie was on here and Keone Wilcox and a lot of people I know, if you're a beginner, there's nothing wrong with investing 50K or 100K in an LP position with somebody like Jay or me and Sharpline to get in the space, to start creating that quadrant, to get some momentum and experience and learn, get paid while you learn from good operators. And then you join a group, and then you start educating, and then you could, you don't have to jump in to be an investor by yourself at first. I tell a lot of beginners, you should be an LP before you become a GP. There's nothing wrong with it. We teach the LP and GP mindset. Robert Musso's got 22 deals. He's invested in 5 of my deals as an LP. So the more money, I tell people, like, Rob, just go make money, bro. Save some for your GP deals and some for my LP deals. So it's that quadrant breaks it down for beginners. It's to start as an LP. Go ahead, Jay.
No, absolutely, Marco. And kind of tying into that comment, I'll try to cover this slide very quickly. But when you invest as an LP, especially if you already have a full-time job, and if you're a busy professional, if you're a doctor, attorney, you just don't have time to be at your properties and deal with all the headaches, you can always start off by investing as an LP. And that is truly passive income, because you're not really doing the day-to-day operations. You're not managing the headaches that come with property ownership, but you're still getting the returns. So generating passive income is one of the key benefits of real estate, which a lot of other asset classes do not provide. Other thing is building resilience during recessions. Real estate, especially commercial rental real estate, is pretty recession resistant. The values don't fluctuate as much as they do for single family homes. The valuation is based on the NOI and performance of the property. So as long as you're making sure your NOI is growing and your property is performing well, you can hold the property values pretty stable. Well, to some extent, of course, there's going to be an impact on how the market's doing in market cycles, but you have way more control than you would if you invested in a stock market, and you have absolutely no control on how your stock price is doing. Finally, the third one here is tax benefits. We kind of briefly touched upon that, so I'm not going to beat down on this one. Preservation of capital. This is an important one again, because hey, you're investing in a tangible asset. It's land, building. It's not going to go away. It can go up and down in value depending on the market cycle, but your capital is safe invested in that asset. Even if your building burns down, the land still has some value, even if you didn't have insurance, right? So the worst come worst situation, you still don't lose all of your capital. I can't think of any other asset class where there's absolutely zero chance of losing all your dollars, right? Forced appreciation is, again, a concept that is applicable primarily to commercial real estate. So what forced appreciation means is, as you improve the operations of the asset, bring your expenses down, increase the income, and effectively increase the NOI, the value of the property goes up. And that's how you're forcing the value of the property to go up, by improving operations. You cannot do that with single family homes. No matter how much you renovate them, they only go up until a certain point, because by the end of the day, they're sold based on the comparable values of surrounding homes, right? So that's another power of commercial real estate. So with that, let's dive right into kind of the key lessons that I learned through this journey. The first key lesson I talk about is start small. And for some people, it makes sense. For some people, it's like, start small. That seems like a limiting belief or a small mindset. But the reason I believe in starting small is, when you start small, you make smaller mistakes. And believe me, when you start, you are going to make many mistakes. And even after doing 10 plus deals, we still make mistakes. So I think it's really important to be comfortable around that. When you're making smaller mistakes, of course, with smaller deals, your profits are smaller too, but these smaller mistakes are a little easier to digest. If it takes another $10,000 to save the deal, you can probably save the deal. But if your first deal is 200 units, and now you have to come up with $1 million because one calculation went wrong or interest rates changed, there is no option. You have to do a capital call. Your investors may not be willing to put in more money. And at that point, you're going to get foreclosed on. And that's really bad for your reputation. In this business, reputation is everything. You have one bad deal, even if you have a track record of 25 good deals, it's going to stick on your record. So make sure to start small, take smaller risk, try to learn all aspects of the business before you start diving into these multi-million-dollar deals.
Now, guys, this advice right now is golden. On my wall right there, we have a quote: think big, start small. That's the quote I have right there. So a lot of gurus, it's okay, because you're supposed to scale. They'll say, no, you got to do 60 units and above. It's got to be 100, 200 units. That's great, because you're going to make a lot of money. But now, I've been doing videos. There's nothing wrong with starting with a 4 unit like I did when I was 23. Now a couple gurus got on there who are only preaching 60 units and above. One of them was like, yeah, there's nothing, good. You starting with a 4 unit's not bad. Meanwhile, he was pushing all going big. Okay, so the advice Jay's giving here, it's not easy for somebody to give this advice. Not many people say this. Most people pitch scaling right away. Just go in, do 30 to 200 units on your list. Not a lot of people. Wyatt Simon in our group, 30 years old now. He started when he was 21. He house hacked at 21 years old, was doing duplexes. He would live in one side and rent the other side. A year later, refi it, then sell it, go do another one, then a 4 unit. Now he's doing 20, 50, 100 units. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with starting small like you're doing. It's very good, Jay. This is very good advice. I hope that's why I just want to reiterate it for them. Go ahead, keep going, bro.
No, absolutely, Marco. And then if you do want to start with a slightly bigger deal, let's say 30 units, 40 units, 50 units, then I would advise start it with or invest with someone who's done it before, who knows what they're doing. Because I really like this quote from Warren Buffett. It's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. So if you're able to learn from other people's mistakes who have made them before in their past lives, and now you're partnering with them, you can avoid them, right? So those are the two options. If I had to redo all over it again, and if I had to go big right from the get-go, I would partner up with, I would invest as an LP with Marco and then see how Marco is running his deals, right? That way I can learn from Marco's experience, but I would not take down a big deal right from the get-go and be a lead sponsor on it, because there's a million things like here. These are only a few examples, but honestly, there are a million things that can go wrong. And most people I've seen underwrite for 9 things out of 10 going right, but I think you should underwrite for 9 things out of 10 going wrong, because that's how usually things turn out.
So guys, you see his journey. He did an 8-unit heavy lift by himself, and then he had another deal in contract. He joined MIH. He was very humble about it. And he's like, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. He's like, I want to go bigger. Jay was this is like being vulnerable. Jay was nerd. Like, you guys see how awesome his journey is. 30 units, 60 units, 200. He was nervous, man. He's like, I was like, Jay, when he joined, you're going to do it. Whatever you need, I got you, bro. That's why he joined the group, because it's not monopoly money. Once again, guys, you start going 40 units, 60 unit, 80 units. A lot of people on your own is okay. But when you join the group and you have the right support, and he's on the chat and he sees Chris Jackson popping self-management tips all day long, and Josh Stahl putting tips up there, and me putting tips up there, it's giving him education and confidence. He's like, well, Marco's up at 11 o'clock at night, and I just booked 2 tours at 11 o'clock at night the other night. I'm on leasing on our self-management company. Jay's thinking like, what the hell is he doing at 11 o'clock at night? I'm like, bro, you got to do your multifamily. This isn't a 9 to 5, dude. And he sees that, and he's like, I guess that's what I got to do. Okay. So that's what, it was important for him to join the group, for him to feel comfortable to go bigger ethically for himself and his investors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Then on this slide, I have a few other lessons learned. I think if you're planning to be an active investor, I think it's really important to learn all the aspects of the business.
Jay, somebody on the chat asked the question. I told him you're going to cover this. So I want to look at the chat real quick, who it was. 1 second. They said, how are you finding all these good deals? And I'm going to give away one secret, and you're going to cover it all. Let's connect 1 second. Great to be on this call line. It's too far back up. But he asked, like, how are you finding all these deals? Here's one tip. I know Jay inside and out. I talked to him for the last 3 years, man. He is fucking amazing at broker relationships. And I asked Jay, I interview people to teach for the mastermind. When he started his journey, every Saturday morning, he would go have breakfast with a broker, buy the broker breakfast because it's not expensive, bacon, egg, and cheese, maybe, and a coffee. And he would build broker relationships, because I have 19 levels of deal flow. I just sent Lauren the 19 levels. Broker relationship, broker, direct to seller, driving for dollars, property managers, CapEx crews, meetups, events. There's 19 ways to find deals. You have to do all 19. Somebody goes, I'm just doing direct to seller and I'm struggling. Well, did you do the other 18? They're like, what are the other 18? I'm like, I'll send them to you. We teach them. So Jay's going to start out and go over. One thing he's amazing at, he does direct to seller, but brokers really like him because he's confident and educated at what he learned. And he really builds great broker relationships. So go over to deal finding, Jay, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Marco. So it starts from deal finding, right? So to answer the question, how are we finding the deals directly, especially when we were starting out, we found a lot of these deals on MLS, LoopNet, through some of the local real estate agents. You might hear about a deal before they list it. They're about to list it the next day, and you hear about it when you meet them at a local meetup. And you're like, hey, wait, before you list it, I think I can offer that price. Once it's listed, now there's a ton of competition, right? Everybody's bidding on that property. But sometimes even on MLS, you would be surprised that there would be a large multifamily deal listed on MLS, and most people are not looking at MLS. Most people are looking at MLS to find single family homes or small multifamily. And speed wins. If you see a property appear like that meets your criteria, immediately reach out to the broker, tour the property, put an offer, right? So a lot of times the first few deals, they were right on the market on MLS. A lot of people say deals go to die on LoopNet. That's not really true. Well, maybe 95%, but that 5% is what you're really after, right? But once you have closed a few deals, that's when you can start working with commercial brokers, right? Because with commercial brokers, they want to work with people who they know can close, who have somewhat of a track record. They usually don't like to work with someone who's a beginner because they don't want to waste their time. They're really busy. They want to make sure you have the capital, you have the experience to close a deal. So once you have built a little bit of a track record, what I did was I created a PowerPoint with our buy box. This is the criteria, and with some of our case studies. So they know that, oh, this is a deal that we did. Oh, I drove by that building. Yeah, you guys did a good job. Those were the comments we would start getting from these brokers. And now they know that we are actually active in this market and not an absolute beginner. The other thing with broker relationships is you have to provide them with really good feedback. So if they send you a deal and if the deal doesn't meet your criteria or if it's not a good deal, a lot of people would not just get back to them, but you have to get back to them. Okay, I reviewed the deal. It doesn't work for me for so-and-so reasons. If we are in this range from a price point, I think we can make it work. Give them some feedback. They're human beings by the end of the day. If you start ghosting them, they're not going to bring you deals. Also, some brokers may bring you good deals. Some brokers, you're like, oh man, I always get bad deals from this broker. Doesn't mean you stop working with them. Still continue to build that relationship, still continue to talk to them, because after sending 15 duds, they might send you one that actually is a winner, right? So don't discount working with people. Treat everybody with respect, provide feedback back to them. It's all about human connection. Real estate is truly about relationships more than anything else. Direct to seller is also a lot about relationships. In this case, you're working directly with the sellers, and you can reach out to Justin, Cashflow Cowboy, because he runs an entire platform on this and teaches people on how to do DTS. And he'll tell you also that it's all about building a good relationship with the seller and making them feel like you would be a good person to take over their property. They have emotions invested in this property, and now they want to sell it to someone who will take good care of the property and, of course, give them a fair price, right? So DTS is also a lot about persistence. You got to keep trying. And then also about relationships once you get that bite. A lot of real estate conferences, again, you're going to meet people, other investors who are probably willing to sell deals, other brokers. So it's important to go to these conferences and expand your network. Property managers is a good source of deals. Sometimes they're working with a client who's thinking about selling. And if you use the same property manager, they may be able to make that introduction, and you might be able to strike a deal before it ever goes on market. Same thing with construction companies. Your contractors may hear, one of these owners trying to sell a property, and you might be able to get a hold of them before it gets officially listed. And also social media exposure, right? So getting your name out there, and not just name, but also building that reputation. Because I know I've heard about few deals, a lot of the generational wealth deals that Marco is a part of. I've heard stories about people reaching out to folks like Marco and some of these folks is they've seen them operate in the field over 7 years. They've seen not just the social media presence, but they've seen their properties. They've seen how they treat people. And the sellers have come to them that I want to sell my property to you. Now that takes time. That takes building track record and reputation. But if you don't do it from the get-go, you're never going to see it. So make sure that you're known in your local market and make sure you have good social media presence.
Jay, I want to share one thing. I don't want to mess up your presentation. Is it hard for me to share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start.
I'm going to share the 19 ways of deal flow.
Mhm.
Okay, share screen, because that answers that guy's question. Let me go to Word. One sec. Here it is. Guys, I just put this on the chat today for my members. Deal flow, many ways to get it. 19 ways to get a deal. If you're just doing direct to seller and you're like, I can't find a deal because you're missing 18 other ways. Broker on market, broker off market. We do mailers. We do cold calling. We do text. We do emails. We do voicemail drops. We do driving for dollars. Hudar Kibi and me and our people, we're masters at driving for dollars. We walk onto the property and trying to bump into the owner. Lindsay just bumped into the owner. He was on the tractor cutting the grass, and she just closed an 8 unit in Pennsylvania. Property managers, I'm friends with them, and I'll call them like, hey, I know a company. Yo, you think that guy wants to sell that deal you're taking care of? They're like, yeah, let me go ask him. CapEx crews, they're doing the work. Hey, get me the landlord's number. You have his number? Yeah. Then I call him. Free education Zooms like tonight. Tonight, Jordan Da Silva in MIH came to one of my free education Zooms. In the chat, he met Jen from Jake and Gino, who I onboarded. They got a deal together. Free education Zooms, he got a deal. Meetups. Everybody in my mastermind, if you're not going to one meetup free locally a month, you're not in multifamily. You got to be, if you're raising money, you need to be at least 2 to 4 meetups a month. Okay. If you want deals, you got to be at least one. Going to a meetup keeps you motivated in the space so you don't fall off, because you go there, you have a glass of wine, and you see everybody struggling to get deals. Everybody, not just you. Hadar got a deal maybe. He's been looking for a fucking year. And he got the deal, and everybody thinks he just got it easily, and he's negotiating. Now he's got a retrade. Events, masterminds, one-on-one, join multiple. Bill Hamill, he's in Jake and Gino, he's in my mastermind, and he's in 3 other masterminds. As you grow, as you make money. Networking, the biggest one. I'm a master of networking. I teach that. Wholesalers. People hate wholesalers. I don't hate them, but I'm friends with a couple. If you could become friends with a good wholesaler, I know people. I've never gotten a deal from a wholesaler because I don't need to, because I can find deals. But I know a lot of people who get deals from wholesalers. What's his name? Bert from Jake and Gino has a wholesaler friend that gets some deals. And then broker meetup. This is when you're super high level. I did a broker meetup. It's kind of awkward. I invited brokers in Kansas City to have a meetup with like 15 brokers. They didn't all want to come because they're competing with each other basically. I don't care. I'm at the level. I have 44 deals. I got like 12 brokers to show up. The ones that really like us showed up. So it was kind of awkward. My buddy Colt, what's his name, was like, I'm like, yeah, he's your competition, right? I'm like, don't worry about it. We're gonna use you, bro. You know, so I did a broker meetup. Guys, this is 19 levels of deal flow right here. Okay.
Marco, if I may just add something small regarding to that.
Go ahead,
That's
bro.
basically what you just described. It's encompassing within the 3 pillars of deal flow that we teach in MIH Mastermind, which is pretty much broker relationship on and off market deals, direct to seller, with the whole gamut of strategies that Marco described today, and a few others, new ones that we're implementing right now, like expiring loans. A lot of loans are going to get expired now, you know, going from bridge debt into a higher interest rate. So we're going to target those. And relationship, networking and relationship is the 3rd pillar, and it's very, very important through networking in events and through networking in within the MIH Mastermind, for example. So those are the 3 pillars. Again, broker relationship, on and off market deals, direct to seller, and networking. The last thing I want to mention this one is that when you're looking into a market, you really need to get to know your market intimately. You want to create a list of the properties that meets your criteria. You want to be driving for dollars. And when I go to my market, I actually plan the week, if you like. I usually go for 2 weeks. I plan the week. Every single day I go and visit different properties that I want to target, that are on my list, maybe a short list, specific property with the right vintage, the right number of units, the right loan maturing. And it's very, very important. So I create myself a catalog, if you like, of the properties that meet my criteria, and I hyper focus on them first. And then I roll over with the list to target the other properties that are secondary. So that's how we operate. Very important to know your market intimately. That's it. Thank you, Marco. Great presentation.
But guys,
Awesome.
once again, for the beginners on here, you're not struggling. Everybody's struggling to find deals. Like I just said, Hadar, he's so fucking patient that he gets the best deals. But it takes him a year and a half. Okay? Everybody's struggling. That's why you have 19. That's why you want to join a family. You want the support. Okay? That's the reason. It's the hardest space. It's the best space. And the reason, like, I look at Jared Reeder right now. He's doing a deal, I think. The reason I say go to meetups, when you want to quit, if you go to meetup once a month and have a beer, you will see other people are struggling. You will see other people doing good. You will see other people want to help you. And that'll keep you motivated to stay in the space. Michael Jordan behind me. If you don't quit and do this for 1, 2, 3 years, you will fucking succeed one day. Nico Salgado in my group. He joined Jake and Gino, dropped 20K, dropped another 10K in my group, 30K. Took him 2 years. He did not quit. He did networking calls at 12 o'clock. He's a teacher because he loves the space. In his second year, after 2 years, he got like a 20 unit, I think, in Tampa or something. Now he's on his second deal. He didn't quit. Took him 2 years. So if you're doing good in your day job and you're making money, just fall in love with the space, not the results. Stay in it for 1, 2, 3 years. Invest as an LP if you can't find a deal to keep you in the space. All right, Jay, share and go on. It's just really important because everybody
Yeah.
says it. How do you find deals? How do you find deals? You find deals by investing as an LP to start and not quitting.
No, absolutely. No, that's really good advice, Marco and Hadar. And of course, speaking of this as well, like when you find the deal, and if you've done a couple deals but still want some guidance. So after I joined MIH, that's when if you can see the trajectory, I joined MIH in June of 2021, and then we started closing more and more deals, because initially when you try to take down larger deals, there is going to be that fear factor. But then if you have, like, Hadar is a great operator, it's phenomenal with operations, asset management, and really detail oriented. I'm actually scared to show a deal to Hadar because I know he's going to pick it apart. But if you have someone like that you can reach out to, that, hey, here's a deal. Can you tell me if it's going to work? And then if they approve it, it's a good deal, right? So that's why it's really important to surround yourself. If you think that you're the smartest guy in the room, you're doomed for failure. Like Tony Robbins says, if you live in your head, you're dead, right? So you always have to reach out to other people who are a lot smarter than you, who are a lot more experienced than you, and learn from their mistakes and learn from their experiences. So deal
So Jay,
finding, a lot of
what's
these
great,
approaches, again.
Jay, you know what's great? Like Hadar is very conservative because he gets great deals.
Yep.
And and then Chris also, Chris sometimes he might not be more aggressive. He might be able to find some way to make a deal work a little differently. And Hadar and Chris talk about it. Hadar was working on a deal one day, and Hadar's like, Chris, show me what I'm not seeing. And Chris was like, because Hadar's like, this, I think it's a great deal, but am I being wrong? So it's good to get ideas from a couple people in the group. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Great. Up next, we kind of touched upon this now as well, is underwriting. As a beginner, you can use a simple underwriting tool like the Bigger Pockets Deal Analyzer. But once you start looking at slightly more complex deals, 10, 20, 30, 40 units, you want to use a really good deal analyzer. So we personally use Synthesis Multifamily Deal Analyzer, which is put together by Chris Jackson. It is a phenomenal deal analyzer. There are a few other available as well. Michael Blank's model is pretty popular, but just make sure that you're really familiar with that model and how the numbers work. Otherwise, just punching in the numbers in a model and then seeing the deal works, that's not truly underwriting. You need to know how the model works behind the scenes, what type of exit cap rate projections you can make. It's much more involved than just plugging in numbers, because slightly tweaking two numbers can suddenly make the deal work. So you want to make sure that all the numbers that you're putting in, all the assumptions you're making, are based on facts, right? So underwriting is a really key one. The next one is financing. So again, working with brokers and commercial brokers, they want to make sure all your ducks are lined up for financing. If you get a deal under contract and can't close because you can't get good financing, that's going to reflect poorly on you. So when you start, you can always work with banks, credit unions. Those are, again, important relationships to have. Banks, credit unions, all of them, you want to make sure that you're building a rapport with these lenders. There's always a few key decision makers. Continuously talk to them. Tell them about how your deals are performing. So besides just underwriting your deal, they also know you as a person. They know you as an investor. They've seen the rest of your deals. That has an impact on decision making. Mortgage brokers, having good mortgage brokers in your network is extremely important. The origination fees vary on a pretty large spectrum. You can find a mortgage broker who takes 25 bips up front, and you can find who takes 1.5. So it's a huge array of mortgage brokers. Some of them would work with several different lenders. Some would work with only a couple that they have a relationship. So I think it's really important to have all of these team members in your Rolodex and continue to build relationships with them. Then the next part is construction management. That's a huge one again. I think the local network of real estate investors is a good place to start. Some people are going to share the list of their contractors with you and reach out. If you need a roofing contact, hey, here's the guy you can reach out to. And some people won't. People who are not willing to share, you know that you don't want to reach out to them again. But there are a lot of people who have that go-giver mindset. They know how they started out with and how difficult it was, and they're going to share contacts with you and help you out as you're getting started. So it's really important to have that local network. Get multiple bids from several contractors, right? Yeah, the bids can range from $1,000 to $10,000 for the exact same item. It's bonkers, all the bids that you're going to get. So the first project we did, we got about 6 to 7 bids for every tiny line item that we did because we had no idea how much things cost. Pay nothing to a minimum upfront, right? So pay based on milestones. That way your contractors continue to stay motivated to finish your project. You pay 25% upfront, well, they're not going to ever show up again because they got a good chunk of money upfront. Develop a bulletproof construction contract, a legally binding contract. Work with an attorney to develop this, and also put together a very detailed scope of work. Every single line item within every single unit. Research your own materials and give that materials list to your contractors. Don't just leave it to them because they're most likely going to pick up the cheapest possible materials to maximize their margins. And doing that is going to cause a lot of repairs and maintenance issues for you 1 or 2 years down the road. In terms of a book recommendation here, I would recommend reading a book called The Book on Estimating Rehab Costs by Jay Scott, especially if you're an active investor and managing your own renovations. This is a good starting point. But even after reading this book, for my first project, my construction budget was about 75 grand, and we ended up spending $200,000.
Wow.
So, 3 times as much, even after knowing how much some of these things cost. But this book gave me, I guess, the vocabulary to talk about certain things when it comes to renovations. I was still way off in terms of scope. As you start opening up the walls, you discover new and new things. And lo and behold, you have to do this. Now you have to do that too. Masonry work can get really expensive really quickly. Plumbing is another example. So you got to keep that in mind. And that's why I like to talk about starting small, is when that 70K turns into 200K. Thankfully, I was able to absorb that. But also, thank God, this was not a 300 unit because we would be definitely screwed. Maintain a budget versus actuals tracker. Keep a close eye on how much you're spending. What is your ROI on renovations? Are you overspending on some of these renovations, right? So you spend, let's say, $10,000 on a renovation. Are you at least getting $3,000 in annual rent bumps? 25 to 30% ROI. So keep a close eye on, are you at least getting your money's worth, and are you recouping that capital by increasing the rents? If you're not getting those rent bumps, then probably you need to cut down. So unless you actually track every single number, it's going to be very difficult for you to really know what's working and what's not. Also maintain a very detailed list of expense tracker and stuff like that, especially when you do cost segregations and stuff like that. This is important to share this with your CPA because that's the amount of money that you'll get to depreciate on your taxes. So there's multiple benefits of keeping clean records. This is a long list. So I'm trying to go through this pretty quickly, but property management is the other one. So as we started our journey, about 32 units or so, we have been self-managing. So for some time last year, we outsourced a portion of that portfolio, and we are bringing a good chunk of that back in-house. And when I say we, this is just, it's a small portfolio. It's just me and my wife who are managing it. So I haven't invested a ton of time in truly building our property management team and scaling our property management operations. If you think that's your goal, I think it's a good goal to have, because no one is going to manage your property the way you can manage your own property, or your partner can manage your property, right? So make sure, if you're using third-party managers, you are going through a very strict checklist and asking them the right questions. But by the end of the day, in my experience, after going through 5 different third-party property managers, especially on these smaller assets where you don't get access to institutional grade property managers, it's always a good idea to self-manage. A lot more work, but you will have a lot more control, or team up with someone who has built a good property management company. And of course, incentivize them with equity so they have skin in the game. And if the property does well, they do well. Again, the theme here is relationships, and don't be greedy. Give away equity because your team member is helping you win and you help them win, right? So Book recommendations here would be Managing Rental Properties by Brandon Turner. It's a good starting point. And then ABCs of Property Management by Ken McElroy. This book also comes with a few templates like lease templates, notices that you have to post, notice to pay or vacate, 30-day, 7-day notice, 30-day notice to vacate, and all those notices, you at least get templates. So if you plan to self-manage, some of these books would be a good starting point. And some of the other things that you have to keep in mind is you have to familiarize yourself with local and federal laws. So Fair Housing Act is a really important one. You don't follow that, you can be in some serious hot water. You cannot discriminate. If they follow, if they qualify for a certain criteria, you have to give that apartment to whoever qualifies. You can't be like, oh, I just don't like this guy, or this guy seems too old, or you can't do that. So all these laws you have to familiarize with. Collections of deposits. Certain states, you can only collect 1 month's deposit. You can collect half month's deposit. By mistake, if you collect 2 months deposit, you can be in trouble. At the very least, you have to start paying interest payments on those deposits. So stuff like that, you have to make sure that you are abiding all the laws. Build a bulletproof lease template, preferably by working with a real estate attorney. The way we did this was, one, by working with an attorney, but also back when we were in college, the apartments that I was living in, the rental apartments, I took my old lease. And that lease was from a huge local property management company called Town Properties that they manage 60,000 plus doors. I knew their lease is going to be bulletproof. So I just copied their lease, because I didn't want to spend $2,000 on an attorney. So before I even consulted an attorney, I started using that lease that I already had. So that could be an idea. Maybe take a lease from a property manager who is doing a good job, and then probably just copy that verbiage, right? Use a good property management tool. Sure, you can do everything in Excel, but if you have a property management tool, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Tenant communication, managing maintenance work orders, assigning these work orders to vendors. It's just going to streamline the whole process. It's going to keep your books clean. At the year end, when you have to export all the P&Ls and reports, you can export it right from the tool and give it to your accountant. So invest a few dollars and pay for these licenses, because they're going to be a game changer for you. Learn how to market your units. Market your units at several places: rent.com, apartments.com, Zillow, Facebook Marketplace. We've tried to step away from Craigslist because there's way too many scammers. But hey, if that works for you, go ahead and market everywhere you can, because the more eyes you can get on your units, that's your edge against your competition. Have a team of contractors and vendors. Once these maintenance requests come in, you have to resolve them pretty quickly. So unless you have this team, you're going to start pissing off your tenants because you can't get these maintenance tasks closed, right? So make sure that you have a good list and they can get it done for a reasonable price, because you don't want to break the bank. You use some expensive vendors who are on the top of Angie's list or Google. Well, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg, and there goes your cash flow. So there's a fine line that you got to use someone who's reliable, but at the same time who's reasonably priced. And now you got to have a whole Rolodex of these vendors. So it takes time to build this piece together, right? Don't ignore preventive maintenance, smoke detector batteries, pest control, HVAC filter changes. This stuff can lead into some major headaches down the road if not taken care of. Fire prevention is a big one. Tenants like to remove the batteries from smoke detectors and all that and smoke inside. And you have one fire, your entire building can burn down. So doing periodic inspections to make sure that there are more than one fire suppression systems in place. You have smoke detectors, fire extinguishers in each unit. And we also started using these stovetop fire stops, which get mounted right above the stove, because I was surprised to see one of the latest statistic that 79% of all the apartment fires are cooking fires. It's not from cigarettes or marijuana blunts. It's from cooking. Everybody cooks, or most of them do. So this tool, it just mounts under your hood, under the range hood. And if there's a fire, oil catches on fire, it just sprays and extinguishes that fire. So small stuff like that, you got to care for your property. You've invested blood, sweat, and tears in it. You got to make sure that you're doing a good job from an operations standpoint. Cleaning is key. We struggled with this with third-party management. Common areas were dirty. it just doesn't make a good impression. Tenants don't like it. You take someone to show the property, it's all nasty. You keep a clean area and everybody's happy. And it costs you less than $200 to do that. Conduct a semi-annual inspections. I talked about that too. It's also helpful to catch any residents who are probably staying that are not on the lease, any pets that are not reported. So any missed income that you're not collecting, you're going to catch that too through inspections, besides all the maintenance items that you're going to catch.
Jay,
Again, don't be, yeah.
This is a big one. And when we do this, we do quarterly, and I just set them up on like 4 of my deals. The smaller deals that we taking over, we got rid of third party. We send the guy in to do filter change. He's going to look for pets and leaks. He's going to do everything. Look in the sinks and toilets, because tenants have a leaky toilet and they don't tell you. I mean, even if they're paying, it's okay. You just don't want that. So he's going to go into the filter change, look for the sinks and toilets and leaks, and also look for pets. And then he's going to report to us, oh, unit 5, 15, and 20 have pets. And guys, right there, your NOI goes up. People move in and they get a pet. They're not going to tell you because they don't want to pay the pet fee. So you got that. That's very important down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next one, again, don't be greedy and don't be a slumlord. Take care of your asset. And if you're doing rent bumps, of course, with inflation, we got to do rent bumps. We are not, it's a business by the end of the day. But don't increase rents every year by $300, $400, $500. You're just going to push really good tenants out. And now you have to deal with massive turn costs. So be reasonable, see what the market is doing, and base your rent increases on that. Maintain a clean book of records. Again, this is for accounting purposes, to file your taxes, and just to know what your property is doing. You won't know what's happening at your property unless you measure it. And to measure what's happening, you have to maintain a clean book of records. And then finally, hiring the right people. And I'll let Marco talk about it a little bit, because we haven't hired people for our property management. I just manage my personal portfolio. But Marco, if you want to chime in a little bit on this.
Yeah. So I have 25 years of running a restaurant, and then I've built 3, 4 other businesses. I currently sold the restaurant. I had 1. I now have 5 businesses. So I'm looking to buy my 6th business. Tony Robbins has over 104 businesses, and I'm learning from him how to have all these businesses and not work in each one. So I'm really good at hiring people. It's a skill. You need to learn how to do it. And I attribute the restaurant and having to hire, because when I was in my 20s, I hired a lot of bad people, and now I learn. I interview really well. You need to practice. If you're in your 20s, you should surround yourself with somebody who's good at hiring if you're going to start doing this, because it's not an easy skill. And I'm going to go into something I did that's amazing. I brought in Isaac into our property management company, Isaac Holtz. He's now one of our he's amazing. And Chris was so happy. I brought him in from the MasterMind. And when I brought him in, Ashton, one of our property managers, I think was on the verge of quitting because there was so much stress. And I brought him in. They're like best friends now. They work together. Danielle loves his job. He even got a different job with the company now, where what he wants to do. And if you bring in good people, you maintain your good people. If you don't hire good people, you're wondering, why do I have so much turnover? So then what I do next, I introduce Chris Jackson to Josh Stahl in our mastermind. He's my partner. And Josh has been running businesses all his life. With his father-in-law, he built a very big business with the father-in-law. And Josh is head of hiring. And Josh is head of a lot of things. He's doing a 70-unit deal in Columbus with me and Chris that he's handling a lot of the turns with Nick on that project. But he was initially hired to come on because he has a good skill of hiring. And he's made some amazing hires. Of maintenance guys are really hard to find. And so the key is, if you're not good at it, you got to find somebody like a Josh who's good at hiring. Hiring is key, because if you don't hire the right people, the good people you have will quit from being too stressed. Okay? I proved it. I brought in Isaac. He's fucking amazing. And Ashton, and that they're so happy. Ashton, Danielle, and Isaac go out Friday at happy hour. The team's working good together. I know Chris was blown away. He's doing a great job. In 6 months, he got to where we thought he was going to be in 2 or 3 years. So bringing in, I teach at the restaurant, one thing is you have A, B, C, and D, A, B, C players. At my restaurant, my really A players, the waitresses and servers and cooks would be like, get rid of that person. And he was maybe a C. But sometimes you can't always find all A's. A C person, you know what you're going to get out of them. They show up, they do their little bit of work. You can't really get too much. And eventually you find somebody better, you replace them. But when you're building a big business, you need a lot of people. You want all A's, but it's not easy to find all A's. Okay. So you got to learn how to have patience to make a C player into a B player, to maintain them and keep the A players happy. And explain, communicate to Gary Vee teaches communication, empathy, gratitude, communication with your workers. You got to learn how to communicate with the A players, how much you're grateful for them, how much you appreciate them, and explain to them, the ones that aren't A players, what you're doing. Like, listen, I wish they were as good as you. So this is a big skill I've learned over 25 years. And Josh has got this skill. And now me and him, he's doing it for us. And I check in with him. What do you need? I don't have to worry about trying to find people anymore. He does it for us. So guys, this is like a 3-4 hour lesson in MIH I could teach on this. And Josh actually could do it with me. But yeah, it's getting late. But I mean, I'm still on. I don't care if we stay until midnight. But not a lot of people dropped off. But let's keep going. We'll do 1 or 2 case studies fast. We'll bust through everything, and we'll do a case study or 2, and then we'll get out of here. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope we don't stay on until midnight. So I'm really sorry
All
for
right.
this
11,
taking so
11:30,
long,
bro.
but
We're gonna stay
we'll
until
keep going.
11:30.
Yeah, we'll keep breezing through this. So
Josh will stay on.
yeah, so this is essentially a slide on just the team members you need, so I'm just going to flash it on the screen. A lot of real estate books talk about the same thing. When you're getting started, make sure you have these team members. Make sure you build the connections before you get started, right? With contractors, commercial real estate brokers, attorneys, tax professionals, title companies. So again, it's not all about you. You need a team. That's the message here. So you can review the recording later. There could be a few more that I missed, but these were the few key team members that I kind of thought about. And then build your internal team. So if you're doing joint ventures, syndication,
Take a pic of this, guys. For the beginners, take a picture of this.
So these would be definitely some of the team members that you would need, because you can't do it all by yourself. Finding deals itself is a full-time job. You're meeting, you're traveling to different cities to meet with the brokers there. You're meeting with all the local brokers. You're going to meetups. At the same time, if you get 3 to 4 deals sent to you every day, you got to underwrite them fast, provide the feedback back to the brokers. You can't wait for the weekend. That deal's probably gone by then, right? So you need to make sure that you have someone who can support you with underwriting, and they need to be fast. Your underwriter needs to be fast. If your underwriter is taking 3 days to underwrite your deal, well, you got to start working with somebody else. Construction and stabilization, right? So that in itself, at least for the first, like if it's a heavy lift deal, the first year and a half, it's going to be a lot of work up front. So you want to make sure that at least if it's not you, you have someone who is boots on the ground, who can also take care of construction and stabilization of these properties. Asset management, if you use a third-party property manager, then managing the manager becomes an important thing. So asset manager's role is to make sure that they are tracking numbers, KPIs really closely, and we are keeping the entire team honest, because you can't improve what you don't measure, right? So you got to measure it very closely, keep a track of these KPIs, and that's asset manager's role. Capital raising, larger deals, you need a lot of capital. You need not someone, but more people on your team who have connections, who can bring on their friends and family to co-invest in the deal, so that you are able to raise enough capital. And oftentimes they can also help with investor relations to continue to communicate with your investors on what's happening within the deal. And then overall operations and financial insight. You want to have someone who understands finances, who's looking at your books, who is giving you some advice about the economy and the markets. And is it a good idea to take on a high risk deal right now? Is it a good idea to take something large down right now? How are the markets doing? You need someone who understands financial markets. So these are just, again, 8 roles. There could be more, but you need at least these 8 to really have a scalable business. Again, oh man. So I think I've got quite a bit of slides. I'm sorry, but I'm going to try to browse through this pretty quickly as well. So heavy lifts, a lot of people like heavy lifts because the profit potential is crazy. But at the same time, it does come with a lot of risks. And I just want to briefly talk about what we like about heavy lifts and when should you and should you not do heavy lifts. So heavy lifts usually are distressed properties. You can buy them for a pretty steep discount, which is the good thing. You can add tremendous value into this property by doing crazy renovations, but that also means a lot of risk and a lot of work up front. And then once all the work has gone in, because you have increased the value of that property so much by putting in all this sweat equity, now you have a pretty good chance of doing 100% cash out refi and enjoy an infinite return deal, right? So with light lifts, it's very difficult to do that unless you bought something for a crazy discount. But at least with heavy lifts, you can add that value, do a cash out refi, and get most, if not all, of your capital out. And then finally make an impact, like that 10-unit property where the block changed around us. You see that happening. You buy one really bad property and things around you start changing because you started fixing up this property. But again, when you should do it and when you should not. If it's your first deal, be careful because like for me, a $75,000 budget blew into over 200,000. So that can happen. If it's your first deal, make sure what you're getting into and make sure that you have assessed the risks accurately. Heavy lift deals in C and D areas, sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. In a high crime neighborhood, you might fix up this property, make it beautiful, but you're still not getting the rents you want. And you're not going to make the cash flows that you anticipated. So be careful of investing or over renovating, if you will, in C and D areas. Again, in inflationary market, that poses another risk. So you buy a property, sometimes heavy lift deals have to be bought on bridge debt or hard money debt. And in an inflationary environment, your holding costs starts to go up. Cost of materials start to go up. So you may have factored in for a 200,000 renovation, but because of inflation, now that's like 250, 300,000 renovation. And with inflation, what happens is the demand goes down. People start moving in with their parents because everything's getting expensive. So not only are you getting hit with costs, now your demand for rentals is also going down. So you get hit from both sides. So be careful. I mean, especially 2023, 2022 was that time when inflation was rampant, right? And then finally, buying a heavy lift deal on a floating rate bridge debt, right? Because you can't control your interest rate. So things can go in any direction. And the longer it takes you to stabilize the property, at the same time, if the interest rates start to go up, again, you get hit from both directions and you can find yourself in trouble. So if you are doing a heavy lift, make sure it's in good location. You've got solid debt fixed for 5 to 7 years with LTC, with purchase plus rehab funded by the bank. It's in a good area where there's always demand for rentals, where there's actually housing shortage. Make sure you're looking at all of these things and preferably partner up with someone who's got a good construction experience. So with that being said, I have a few case studies here. I don't want to get into every single number. This recording will be shared, so you can always pause the screen and look at the numbers. But this was our first 8-unit deal. This is what it looked like when we bought it. One of the roofs was caved in from the backside, so the rain would pour in from the top floor to the bottom floor. A lot of surprises here. I didn't know anything about knob and tube wiring. Turns out nobody insures a property with knob and tube, so we had to rewire and replumb the whole place. I had no idea about tuck pointing and masonry. A lot of masonry work went into it. We had to rebuild these decks. These decks actually fell off during the renovation process. So rebuild that. Everything you see was redone. And I did not know going in, right? So that's why that 75K turned into 200K. But this was a really good lesson learned. And the biggest lesson was be careful about estimating rehab costs. And 2, you can never go wrong with location. Location is one mistake that you can never fix. You cannot move the property to a good location. Thankfully, this was in a good location, which is why we came out okay, even though we ended up overspending on renovations. And we were still able to do a full cash out refi and enjoy those infinite returns, if you will, right? This is that 10-unit that we worked on, similar 10 units, 65 construction, pretty dated
Jay,
looking
you're on
building, very tired looking.
The picture I have is 8 units. There you go, 10 units. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of lag. So 47K per door, around 200K in renovations. So again, post rehab appraised value was 1.45 million. There's a lot to do with timing as well, because this is when appraisals were coming in real high. The cap rates were really compressed. If I try to do this deal again, it would probably appraise for $1 million, right? So
Yeah,
the market
so
has.
Jay, even us right now, we have we bought a deal 1.7 million for 44 units. We in 2020, I think, and then 18 months later, we got appraised at 3.4, 3.5 million, 2x. We refied 100% out. Like now,
Yeah.
so say we go do the appraisal now, the rents are up even more. Appraisal might come in like same 3.5 or 3.6. It should be higher. But if I wait in 2025 or 26, when the presidency come, we think things are coming, it's gonna appraise at 4 million. So it's all about what he's talking about is about market cycle, guys. You gotta learn market cycle. And that's what these appraisals are gonna come on. So I mean, he timed it right. And then now, if it didn't appraise at that, all you have to do is wait for the next right market cycle, and it'll be 1.6, 1.7, whatever according to the rents.
Absolutely. Yep. So some more pictures of the same property on the inside before and after. Then this was the 36 unit that we syndicated. Same story here, just tired looking, dated property, early 70s. There were two buildings. One was built in 69. The other one was built in 79. But it was all 36 units were 2 bedrooms, relatively new mechanicals, carports, washer dryer hookups within each unit. So we saw a lot of potential. And with all of the units being 2 bedrooms, usually tenants tend to stay in these units for longer as opposed to studios, right? So you're like, okay, we know what we can do with this property. So although it was on market, we actually pretty much offered asking price. We were able to get a little bit of a discount after inspections. We paid about 71 a door, and average rents at the time were 675. Our pro forma are at 950. We are closer to like 895 now. We've got probably 5 tenants left at high 700s, and now that's the last set of tenants. We are bumping up the rents. So all the heavy lift is done. We have renovated more than half of the units here. So out of 36, around 24 have been renovated, and a lot of partial turns have been completed. So the property, I have some more pictures here. This is what it looked like. Even the signage, name, everything was really dated. And then this is what the exterior looks like. We rebranded the place, and the tenants take notice. So obviously some people cannot afford the rent increases and they leave, but some people actually see the work that's going in and they're willing to pay $200 more because there's a lot of investment that they see happening in the property. This is what the interiors, this was actually one of the nicest units we had, but still the new look is a lot fresher. So it's just more inviting, a lot more brighter. We changed all the windows, a lot of exterior work, major interior renovations, appliance packages. So invest in your properties, don't skim on CapEx, don't go with the cheapest possible renovations, because tenants are going to notice and things are going to fall apart after your first turn. This was a project that we are currently working on. We are almost towards the tail end of this. It was a major, major renovation, probably the worst property that we've ever bought. But again, this was in an A+ location, really good median household income. It's 24 studios that had fire damage, mold, leaks, squatters, a dead body that was removed right before closing. I mean, you name it, and we had it there. And now we are going through multiple issues with permitting process. So that's when I had to, go out on lunches with city inspectors and stuff like that to finally get them on our side and keep the project moving. So a lot of hurdles here too, but I think we are close to the finish line now, and this is what the property looks like. Actually, this is still a few months old picture. Now most of the interiors are also done. This is a 17 unit that is a JV deal. Alex, Tam, Yosef, they're both part of this deal. Pretty major rehab, a lot of surprises here too. Mainly, we had a lot of plumbing issues. After all the renovations were done, although we had a plumber stop by before we did any renovations to, inspect all these, sewer lines and change the stacks, lo and behold, do decide to crack open after all the renovations are done. And then on top of that, one of the foundations starts leaking, and we have 2 units in the foundation. So brand new renovated unit, now there's water coming through the foundation, right? It never leaked before during renovations. And after everything's done, foundation starts to leak. So all these things, you'll always come across surprises when you're working with heavy lifts. Leasing was a major challenge here, so we had to take upon leasing at this property as well and lease all the units ourselves. 1 or 2 units that the property manager helped to place ended up getting evicted in the first 2 months. So, you have to be prepared for these surprises. Make sure your team is completely in the loop. Be transparent with your team. If you're trying your best, people will understand. And I know that, some of these deals, they may seem like a lot of work up front. Things may not go well for the first few months, but once the property is stabilized, as long as it's in good location, that's when you'll start seeing these really nice cash flows, and you'll be able to do a pretty healthy cash out refi. So again, some more pictures of before and after. And this finally is the 63 unit deal that we had done. This is more or less, this was a stabilized property. So we didn't have to do massive good job renovations, but we renovated about 36 units out of 63 so far. And it's been cash flowing since day one. So it's a mixed bag, right? So you might find deals that cash flow from day one. There might be deals that need a lot of work, and you might have a pretty good holding cost before it starts to cash flow. But it all depends on your business plan, your priorities, if it's your first deal, if it's your 10th deal. Depending on all of these different criteria, you can decide what type of opportunities you want to pursue. But these were some of the renovations that we did at this property. So I think that was the core content of the slides. Again, I'm happy to share the slides, and you all will get the recording as well. Please feel free to reach out. I love doing one-on-one calls as well. So if you want to brainstorm anything, would love to set up a one-on-one conversation as well. And then Marco also pulled up this slide initially in the presentation, but I just wanted to pop it on
for the 65 people. For the 65 people who are on tonight, if you don't reach out to Jay and come to these 2 days, I don't know what to tell you, because I think this is one of the best master classes we're going to do. He gave such great tips. Start small. People don't tell you. That's why people fail. They try and go big, 20, 40, 60, 200 units. Go raise for a guy who has 200 units. So there's so many great tips tonight. He's self-managing part of his portfolio. He's in MIH. I'm going to help him. So in 2, 3, 4 years, when he wants it, me, Chris, Hadar, we're going to support him, and I'm going to help him self-manage his whole portfolio. Because I'm doing it. I'm part of 2 management companies, one with my brother, and I'm in the property management company with Chris. I'm a partner in that company. So we are teaching people in MIH how to self-manage. So yeah, I just want to thank, Jay, you have more after this or just this?
No, this was pretty much the last slide. And then I just have my contact info and your contact info, Marco.
Guys, text Jay for networking calls. Who's 65 people on here? A lot of people know me. Whoever doesn't know me, text me. I'll jump on with you, and we'll just ask us questions. We'll add value to you. We got the event. I think this was great, Jay. I really appreciate you for doing this. And by the way, I don't care what you see. How many people are left? I told you we're going to go 2 hours. When it's good and you can give good value, it's worth it. Because Jay, I'm not going to get you back on. I wanted you to go 2 hours tonight. So that was my mission. All right. So, guys, first of all, to all the people who stayed on, I want to thank you guys for coming. We're going to have another one next month and next month and next month. You know why? Because I love this fucking space. And I want everybody to win. Whether you close a 4 unit or close a 100 unit, I want you to crush your W-2 for your family, make money, and learn how to invest. The pie's big enough for everybody. You got to learn that growth mindset. We're not competing here. The pie's big enough for everybody. And that's why we created this family. So Jay, I'm good. I want to say good night to everybody. I want you, if you want to say good night to everyone.
Absolutely. No, thank you all for joining. I know it took a lot longer than I thought, but appreciate you guys sticking around. It's almost 10 o'clock. So thank you again. Would love to catch up. Would love to see you guys in April. Thank you and have a good night.
Jay, last thing. You got to see
Yes.
the comments, man. It was really a great presentation. And people, I'm telling you, people really thankful. They're saying it's such a great presentation. I'm really glad you guys got a lot of value out of this, guys. All right. Jay really crushed it. And we have the recording for MIH members. I'm going to put it on the library, on the education library. This is when you watch again and take some notes. 92% of what you jot down, you remember. 20%, 50% of what you see, you remember. So you guys are going to go back, watch this again, and take notes. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all.
You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you, Marco.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care, Justin. Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
All right.
Everybody.